I still remember the day my daughter told me that she had given my villa to her husband's family. I sat quietly, listening to her voice, bold, confident, even proud, as she said, "It's theirs now. You are not allowed to come." I smiled and nodded, keeping my thoughts to myself, though inside I felt a storm of disappointment and disbelief. She had no idea what was coming. When the day arrived for them to move in, I greeted them warmly, making it seem as though I had no objections. I let them walk through the villa freely, their heads held high, already imagining they owned every corner. But little did they know, the villa had its own story, and I had my own plans. Every small detail had been prepared to remind them, subtly, that this house carried decades of memories, love, and care, and that no amount of entitlement could erase that. As they explored the rooms, I let them speak freely, laughing politely at their chatter, while I observed quietly. Jason, her husband, was inspecting every room with arrogance, talking loudly about where furniture would go and how he would redecorate. Emily, my daughter, walked ahead confidently, feeling triumphant. That's when it started the first small surprise. A floorboard creaked under Jason's foot, louder than usual, catching him off guard. I didn't say a word, only watched him shift nervously. He laughed it off, thinking he had imagined it. Then Emily noticed it. A small frame on the wall, slightly tilted. When she reached to adjust it, a small note fell out. She read it silently. Some places remember who built them. Some choices echo. Her smile faltered, and she looked at me, confused. I simply nodded politely. "I hope you enjoy the villa," I said lightly. From that moment, subtle reminders continued. Furniture I had loved, small decorations I had placed years ago, even the faint smell of coffee lingering in the kitchen. All of it reminded them that this villa belonged to someone who had nurtured it, not someone who claimed it. Every step they took, every object they touched, seemed to whisper a quiet warning. Nothing here could be truly taken without respect. The garden was next. They had planned to buy plants and redesign it, thinking it would quickly become theirs. But I had preserved certain paths, left familiar flowers in their places, and planted tiny reminders of family history, footprints, small ornaments and patterns only someone familiar with the villa would recognize. As they walked through it, they began to sense, perhaps for the first time, that the villa had a memory, a spirit, and a subtle authority of its own. The first major reveal came when I invited them to the main hall, where a large window overlooked the garden. "Come," I said with a gentle smile, "there's something I want you to see." They followed, curiosity mixed with expectation. I unlocked a small hidden room, the heart of the villa, preserved exactly as it had been when I first moved in. Inside were photographs, letters, and mementos from our family. Every corner, every shelf, every photograph told a story. "This," I said calmly, "is why you cannot truly own this villa. A house is not just walls and furniture. It carries the memories of those who lived here, loved here, and cared for it. You may occupy it. You cannot erase the past." Emily's face turned pale. Jason's smirk disappeared. Even the in-laws, who had assumed entitlement, now stood frozen, realizing that what they had expected as victory had become a subtle lesson in humility. I smiled quietly. The villa itself, with all its memories and subtle warnings, had already begun teaching them. Days turned into weeks, and the villa continued to deliver small lessons. Notes slipped into drawers, objects slightly moved, reminders of old habits. They were everywhere, impossible to ignore, yet harmless. Emily and Jason began to notice, to hesitate, to question their decisions. They started moving carefully, speaking thoughtfully, and even asking me advice for decisions they once would have made impulsively. One afternoon, Emily tried to move a small vase in the living room. As she lifted it, a note fell from beneath. "Some things are not meant to be changed. Respect begins with small actions." Her hand trembled, and she paused, realizing that even minor mistakes had consequences in this villa. Jason, standing nearby, didn't intervene, but his posture had shifted, his confidence tempered by newfound respect. I often walked through the villa alone, reflecting on the lessons being learned. Betrayal, I realized, could be transformed into wisdom. Anger could become patience. The quiet, subtle approach, small surprises, careful reminders, and a calm presence was far more effective than confrontation ever could be. Even small humorous moments became lessons. Jason tripped over an old rug I had left in its place for decades, and Emily gasped, while I chuckled softly. The villa continued to guide them, teaching attention, humility, and respect without a single harsh word. Over time, Emily and Jason's behavior transformed. The arrogance faded, replaced with awareness. They no longer assumed entitlement. They began asking questions about old photos, cherished items, and the stories behind the villa. Even the in-laws adopted a quieter, more respectful demeanor, learning the unspoken power of patience and subtlety. Finally, I left a last note on the kitchen counter. Some lessons are learned slowly, but those learned this way stay forever. Respect is earned, not taken. Emily held it in her hands, her eyes softening with understanding. Jason glanced over, and I could see the lesson fully sinking in, the arrogance replaced with awareness, entitlement replaced with humility. I gathered them for tea one last time, recounting small stories of the villa, memories of laughter, small victories, and quiet struggles. Every word carried subtle weight, reminding them that the villa was built on love, care, and effort. They listened intently, fully aware that they were learning lessons far more valuable than any confrontation could teach. And as I sit now, in the quiet of the villa, watching the sunset spill across the garden, I reflect on everything that has happened. The betrayal, the subtle lessons, the transformation. It all taught me that patience is a weapon, strategy is power, and subtle guidance is stronger than anger. The villa remains standing, a living testament to love, effort, patience, and wisdom. Emily and Jason now understand the value of respect, awareness, and humility. And I, as the woman who guided this transformation, have discovered the greatest truth of all. The quiet, careful, and patient approach often leaves the most unforgettable lessons. Sometimes the softest, most subtle actions are the ones that teach the deepest truths, and those who fail to respect the past will inevitably learn, in their own time, the cost of arrogance and entitlement. As I reflect on everything that has unfolded, I want to share a few truths not just from my story, but lessons anyone can carry in their own life. Life will test you. People will betray you. Sometimes those you love the most will make choices that leave you stunned and hurt. But the way you respond defines your strength, your peace, and your future. React in anger, and you may break yourself more than anyone else. React with patience, wisdom, and subtle guidance, and you can shape outcomes in ways far beyond immediate understanding. Emily and Jason learned humility and respect not because I forced it, but because I gave life the opportunity to teach them. And that, I realized, is one of the greatest powers we possess, the ability to let life itself, with all its consequences, guide others to understanding. Sometimes the strongest lessons come not from words, but from subtle reminders, gentle corrections, and living examples. To anyone listening to this story, remember this: your home, your family, your heart, these are sacred. Protect them, but do not let anger control you. Patience is not weakness. It is power. Observation is not passivity. It is wisdom. And subtlety is not silence. It is strength. The quiet, deliberate actions you take today can create profound transformations tomorrow. I want to leave you with this thought: betrayal and hurt are not the end of your story. They can be the beginning of something far greater. The villa, in all its history and memories, reminded my family of the value of respect, care, and humility. It reminded me of my own strength, patience, and resilience. And if you look carefully, life offers similar reminders every day. Small opportunities to guide, to teach, to forgive, and to rise above the pain. So if you are facing disappointment or betrayal, remember, do not rush to anger. Observe, plan, act with purpose. Let time and subtle wisdom do their work. In the end, those who fail to respect what is sacred will see the consequences themselves, and those who act with patience and love will witness transformation in ways they never imagined. The villa still stands, a testament to life's quiet lessons. Emily and Jason have grown, changed, and learned humility. I have grown, learned patience, and discovered a deeper sense of peace. And you, if you take even one lesson from this story, can learn that true strength comes from measured actions, gentle guidance, and allowing life to teach the lessons that anger never can. Life is a teacher, sometimes subtle, sometimes surprising. Treat it with respect, treat others with care, and remember that every choice you make leaves a mark on people, on places, and on yourself. And sometimes the softest lessons, delivered with patience and love, are the ones that echo the longest. So walk carefully, speak kindly, observe wisely, and trust that justice, understanding, and growth often unfold quietly, in their own time, leaving a legacy far greater than any act of retaliation ever could.